Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about cost accounting in Dynamics NAV or Dynamics 365 Business Central. So the purpose to discuss on this topic is because some organizations they want to track the cost allocation among different cost centers or cost objects. Okay, and so actually the cost accounting started from Dynamics NAV 2013. So if you are using Dynamics NAV for earlier version before NAV 2013, you do not have this cost accounting module in your Dynamics NAV. Okay, and so to start with cost accounting, I want to show a picture. And this picture is taking this is a screenshot taken from Microsoft training material. I think this screenshot very clearly illustrated how what cost accounting does. So in cost accounting, first we start from cost types, and you will have a chart of cost types defined. Usually you will use the income statement GL accounts from your chart account for the chart of cost types. So in NAVs, you will see something like this. And you can populate the chart of cost types from your chart of accounts. But when you populate the chart of cost types from your chart of accounts, it will only populate the GL accounts from your income statements, not from your balance sheet. So let's go back to this screenshot. Then you will see we start from your general ledger, and then depends on if it's a expense or income. If it's a income, it goes to your cost object directly, and if it's a expense, then they will consider which cost accrued. So which cost accrued defines your cost type, because that's your it can be a single GL account from your chart of account, or you can combine multiple GL account to one cost type in your chart of cost types. So that considers which cost accrued. And then depends on where a cost accrued, it can then the cost center defines where a cost accrued. So in your organization, you may have different responsibility centers. These responsibility centers may be a cost center or profit center. And so those cost center, our consideration is where cost accrued. And then depends on, so if after you define your cost type, if it's an indirect cost, then it goes to our cost center. If it's a direct cost, then it goes to the cost object. The object is the final object which carries your costs. Okay, so direct cost is the cost of goods, so it will go to your cost objects which carries the cost directly. But indirect cost, like your overhead, it will be allocated between different cost centers, and then after the allocation is done, it goes to your cost object. So I think this picture defines the purpose of the whole module. If you have this picture, if you understand this picture, then you can understand what this cost accounting is for. So if we go back to Business Central, then we go back to cost accounting. We start from chart of cost types from here, and you can define the cost types. You can populate from your chart account for the GL accounts from your income statement. At the bottom, you will notice that there's some allocations accounts created as well. So this allocation account is the helping account, which is the debit side of your transactions in the income statement. And then you can create your own, like I said, you can create your own cost types. So it's not necessarily all populated from your chart of accounts. And next step is like you define. So for this cost types, another thing I want to mention is, for example, as I said, you can group your GL accounts. For example, this for this cost types, sales, other job expenses. So if you want to add multiple GL accounts, then you can use the pipeline to specify each GL account. For example, I have that 41,100 defined there, and I can add another one, let's say 41 for okay, so I can have this one 100, and I can use a pipeline add another one, the second one, and I can keep on adding using the pipeline. Or I can say if there's any GL accounts in the middle, then you can use the dot, right? So you want to define the GL accounts range, which will be mapped to your cost type. You can use one GL account, or you can map a group of GL accounts from your chart account to your cost type. So that's the purpose of this cost types. And then you have your cost centers. The cost centers can be the profit center or the cost center. And usually we have a setup in the cost accounting setup. You have this cost accounting dimensions. So you can associate that cost center with your global dimension. So right now I'm associated with my global dimension 1. And I associate my cost object with my global dimension 2, which is the project. That's the cost accounting setup. But you do not need to do this. As long as if you have something different, if your global dimension are used for something different, then you can define your own cost centers. So that's dependent. That's completely independent from your global dimensions. So the cost centers, and you can define, for me, you can get the cost centers from your dimensions as long as you set it up in that cost accounting setup. Then when you click on get cost centers from dimensions, in my scenario, it will get from my global dimension 1 department. But let's say if you don't want to use that setup, you want to populate something by yourself, then you can just manually set up from the chart of cost centers. And so usually, and there's a difference I didn't mention. So for this chart of cost types, because the structure is similar as your chart of accounts, but the purpose for this is like, this is not used for auditing purpose. Your chart of accounts is usually used for auditing purpose. And chart of cost types is completely independent from your financial registering of transactions. So it's only for your own purpose, internal purpose for tracking your cost. It's completely different for the purpose what is used for. This is not used for auditing purpose. It's just for internal. And so cost types and cost centers and cost objects. So they could be any dimensions or measures because in Dynamics NAV or Business Central, if you go to your general ledger setup, you can see you can only set up a maximum of 8 dimensions. So you can set up 2 global dimensions, and you can set up 6 extra dimensions. So let's expand this. So we want to see, actually it's here. But if you expand this dimensions fast up, then you can see maximum you can set up 8 dimensions. You can set up 2 global dimensions and maximum of 8 shortcut dimensions. Your 2 global dimensions automatically your first 2 shortcut dimensions. So these dimensions are used in Dynamics NAV or Business Central for the reporting purpose. But in the cost accounting, so there's no limitations. So if you are in NAV, since you have that dimensions, you can only set up to 8, but there are some other dimensions or measures you want to create your reports on. And since that limitation, you cannot do it from there by setting up those dimensions. But in cost accounting, you can set them up as cost center or cost objects, because the cost centers or cost objects can be your dimensions or can be your measures for reporting purpose. Okay, so but generally the cost centers usually are your responsibility centers, which carries the cost for either the cost center or profit center. But you can create something of your own. And the cost objects are the objects which carries the cost. So our group of objects which carries of your cost. So then you can create it from your other dimension. If you set up in the cost accounting setup, you set up the other cost object dimension, then you can populate from there, get cost objects from dimension. Or you can create something by yourself and do some totaling, like start beginning total and ending total. So you can create some kind of structure by yourself. And the next thing is the cost allocation, which is the most important. So this is how you want to do the allocation. You can do the allocation by the target cost center, or you can do the allocation by the target cost object. So if I go to next, you can see I have this set up as a target cost center, and some of my cost allocation is using the target cost objects. It's using my target cost objects. And you can set up the level of your cost allocation. So the top level is level 1, and you can set up to 99 levels. And so the cost center, you can set up your cost center. That's the initial cost center. And so I will allocate from this initial cost center to the target cost object. So I want to do this cost allocation. And you can see it's the target cost type. So where it will post to, the cost entries will post to this cost type. And you can see this is called allocation of cost objects. It will post to this cost type for the cost entries. And also you can specify if you want to allocate the cost static or dynamic. So you can allocate the cost statically, or you can allocate the cost dynamically. So the first option is static, and the other options is dynamic. So for example, the item sold, is always changing, right? And so if you select static, then you can specify the specific percent or the share. So for this share, the share can be directly by percent. So for example, in this case, because my share, this share is kind of 10%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 20%, 10%, they add up to 100%. Then your percent will automatically populate like this, right? Because this percent column is not editable. It's based on your share. And also, if you have these two columns, static base and static weighting showing up, and the static base multiply your static weighting will equals to your share. For example, your static base is 100 and the weighting is 10, and the share will automatically calculate as 1000. Okay, so these two, static base multiplies your static weighting equals to your share. Let's just remove this for now and just leave that share as 10% for now. Okay, then after you defined your share or percentage, then you can just click on the calculate allocation base to do allocation. Okay, if you change this to something else, then you have to redo your calculation. Let's switch to the last one. And so last one I have here, I'm using I'm not using the static base, I'm using a dynamic base. You can see from the base, I'm not selecting the static. I'm using the item sold amount as a dynamic base. And so the dynamic base can be used with this date filter or cost object filter. All these filters, there's a few filters you can use in combination with an number filter. You can use with the dynamic base. if I change, for example, I change any of these filters, then when I recalculate, these numbers will change. For example, if I change this last year to like last period, this means the last accounting period. So yeah, that's just change it to last period. And then when I calculate again, so right now you see my share, this share is only 3,695.70. If I change this date filter, I change any filters here, then when I recalculate it, this number will change. You see, for last period, that share was nothing. There's nothing there. We can change it to something else, like last year. Okay, oh, I think we already used last year. Let's use fiscal year, so last fiscal year. Okay, and let's try calculate again. So I have this number populate. That's if we change it to last month. Let's see if I have another number. Last month is 0, so there's no share for that. So yeah, so you basically understand you can use this dynamic base together with all these filters, then you can get different results there when you calculate. And so when you do this from the cost calculation of, if you calculate from the cost allocation, then you have to calculate one by one. Or you can highlight everything, and so you can click on here. But if you highlight everything, then you see this calculate allocation base, this button will become grayed out. So only when you highlight one, even multiple, then it will grayed out. So in this cost allocations, in this page, you can only calculate one by one. You cannot calculate them in batch. Okay, and you can allocate the costs. So this is a batch report. When you allocate the cost, it will automatically do it for everything. So the other one, calculate calculation base, it will calculate share for the base. And this allocate cost is a batch job. It will automatically calculate from level 1 to level 99, because there's a maximum 99 levels. And it will allocate the cost for all those levels. You see, there's 25 allocation entries generated. And you can see your allocation entries. So you can go to allocations. You can run this report, cost allocations, to see how the cost is allocated. Or you can go to your cost entries to see how the cost is allocated. So it tells you the target and what cost center is used, what cost type is used, and the share of the share, and so you can see this is the share, and so this one is the cost tab, and this is the total share. So from this report you can see so like this one, this level, for each level, how the cost is calculated, how the cost is allocated. Okay, and also you have, let me see, you have a bunch of reports. And so for example, this cost register. The cost register will, is similar like your GL register, but the GL register will register your general ledger entries transactions, and the cost register will register your cost entries. So you can highlight any of that sort. So this is the most recent one we just did. You can highlight this entry, this register line, and then you click on cost entries. You can see the details of the cost. So if we sort this way, you could see these cost objects. These are the final cost objects which carry the cost, and these two are the cost centers, which the cost allocated between among these cost centers, and then carried over to the final cost objects. So if you add up this number from, if you add up these numbers, it will total to the sum of all these amounts for the cost objects. That's for a cost register. Yeah, so, and also you can use your account schedules. So in cost accounting, the cost schedule is similar with your cost schedule. The account schedule is similar with the account schedule for your chart of accounts, but you have to set up your cost tabs instead of the posting account of GL. So if we take a look, so if you added this, I don't want to make a copy, then you can see, so this totaling type is a posting account, and so if you don't use the posting account, you have to use the cost type. So if you change these from posting accounts to cost types, so it will calculate for your these account schedules will be used for the financial management report for your cost types instead of your chart of accounts. Okay, so, and also you can set up the budget similar. The budget is very similar to your chart of account. So you have a GL budget, but you have your cost budget. So that's very similar. And you can import from your Excel, or you can export to your Excel. So I will not put too much details on that. And I think we went through everything, and there's some reports you can use. So similar to your trial balance details report, then you have this cost types details report. So you can run this report to see the details of your cost types. So it has all the transaction details for the cost types. Okay, and that so all these reports under the reports analysis, they will work for your reporting purpose to track your cost. So I think that's basically what it is for cost accounting. So just summarize, the purpose for cost accounting is for you to track your cost allocation among different cost centers, and also you can track among the cost objects, which is the final objects or group of products which carry the costs. So that's the whole purpose of this module, and you can run the account schedule based on your cost types, and you can set up your budgets based on your cost types. And also you have the automated calculation to do the allocation of costs automatically for you with the batch jobs after you set up your cost allocation, either static or dynamic. Okay, thank you so much for watching this YouTube video. I hope to see you guys again next time.